as ready as you can be.
I mean, am I ever really that ready?
I think you are.
I'm
now
pretty
we're
good about
recording.
this. Oh, we are recording now?
We're recording.
Okay. Oops.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome to another episode of Thoughts Explored, formerly known as We Fall Asleep. I always like to put that in for our listeners that have been listening from the beginning. So
that was many years back, actually, that it was called
As We Fall Asleep.
As We Fall Asleep, because we were
in bed,
starting having these thoughts, like just as we were about to fall asleep, and we would be talking to each other and solving the problems of the world.
Exactly. So anyway, we find ourselves here at the end of February, and we thought it was a good time to do another podcast. So the topic that we thought about actually at the last episode was, what are you waiting for? What are you saving it for?
What are you saving it for?
So we just had a little huddle before we started the podcast. So just to make sure we're on the same page.
Well, and it's funny because often, as you regular listeners might know, I don't know what the subject is. And Chris sort of springs it on me. But this was something that several weeks back at our around the time of our last podcast, we were talking, as we tend to do, Chris and I, and we said, what are we saving it for? Just that statement. And we both looked at each other and said, that's the subject for our next podcast. And so here we are now.
So the question is to you, have you, in your life, as you look back on it right now, have you ever had a time where you thought about, I'm going to kind of store away this particular thing? I think it's like a thing or maybe an experience, and, just kind of wait to experience it.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened?
Well, interesting you should put it that way, because as you know, and as anybody that knows me knows, I am a very pragmatic Virgo in my nature. And so often, all through my life, I can think of instances where I've sort of squirreled things away to save for another time, or been quite pleased that I had this saved for a rainy day, or, been in Napa and bought that lovely Cab Franc and was told and believed, you want to save this for another 7 years and it'll be perfect. It'll be the perfect red to open and really savor. And it's not that I didn't believe them. They were the wine experts, certainly. And it's not that I didn't, in my earlier years, loved having that, whether it was a little food squirreled away or a little snack, sort of saved for a rainy day, that kind of thing. But I can say, as I've gotten older and as I've kind of lived longer, I've realized more and more that why not enjoy something in the moment? And that even comes to a very, very pragmatic things like investments. I was just having this conversation with friends about a gold coin that I have that I never look at, that's not on display, that was given to me, I think, by my mother in 1986. I mean, a lifetimes ago. And it's why am I holding on to that? What would happen if I just took that to a gold dealer and said, I don't know, what can you give this? What can you give to me for this? And then I could use that now. it's just that kind of thing, and the perspective does change with like, there is merit, again, in my pragmatic sort of self, there is merit to like knowing that you have something squirreled away. But then there's also the knowledge that, like, but why not enjoy it now, Tomorrow is not guaranteed to anybody.
Right.
And so I find myself, very honestly, as, an honest response to your question, I do go back and forth often. Because I do have that pragmatic core to me, where it's like, but I kind of like knowing that I have something squirreled away, and whether that's like a piece of chocolate. I mean, it could be
dire emergency.
Exactly, it could be a piece of chocolate squirreled away in the cabinet. That then, 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days from now, I'll be like,
we're starving.
Well, not that we're starving, but like, a piece of chocolate. I've got a little something squirreled away. Or I've got a little $1,000 squirreled away. Or,
My problem is I don't necessarily remember any of the squirreled aways. So I think that works if you kind of remember, your all of your special little things.
And I think exactly that. I think that you have to be of this sort of mindset that like enjoys having that little. It's kind of like literally like a squirrel, like remembering where their little acorns.
A squirrel,
right? Where their little acorns are hidden. However, in the same vein, I do know that tomorrow is not guaranteed to anybody.
Yep.
And so why not buy a beautiful red that is ready to be opened and, drunk and enjoyed with friends right here and now?
Absolutely. I feel like I have there's like just a calling to have these experiences now. And, instead of, I do a lot of talking about things that, but that kind of helps get everything formulated. And I now feel like, those things need to be activated, we need to make that European trip. We need to go to Spain. We need to go to the places that we want to go to together.
There's so many places that we want to go together.
Right. There's a couple places that I think I would be chewed up by the skeeters, so I can't go there. But
so that might be a separate trip.
That might be a separate
I might go without you, and that's exactly what you've said. Like, no, the Amazon, go with your sister Claire. Yeah.
Yeah, probably not there. However, I think the basic question is a good one, and I do encourage anybody that's listening to like just go out and go for your experiences. I think that those are so very important, and will help in your development just as a human being. And so if there's a yearning or anything that you have, you should definitely, fulfill those things, I feel like. And whatever barriers that you've identified, just remove them. They're easy enough to do. Like if you need to save for that, cut down on if you're doing coffee or if you're going out to the bars, spending that money, just save that a weekly basis. Set yourself a goal.
And that's a really good idea in that pragmatic mind, because, like I hear people go like, oh, well, just go to Spain tomorrow. But in my pragmatic self, it's like, I mean, realistically, don't go hungry because you're wanting to go to Spain, or, don't default on your house payment because you've bought tickets to go to Spain. I mean, those are very realistic concerns.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, though, it's all about the attention and awareness that we put on whatever we truly want. And if we truly want something, we make it happen. I've never seen a situation where if we really want it, it hasn't happened. So, go for it. I guess that's what my message would be. I don't know what Lex's message would be.
Well, I think it is true. I mean, go for it. And then it also, helps to keep a little something squirreled away. But again, that is, that's just my pragmatic Virgo self. So
go for it. Don't save it for another day.
Yeah, don't save it for too long.
If you have art, release it. I mean, everybody would be richer for seeing it, or music, or anything. Art is so just all encapsulating, I feel like. So at any rate,
share it.
Yeah. Be part of it. So
well, and that's and that's true. Even like if you're just making a spectacular spaghetti sauce, like have company, have friends over.
Yeah.
Open that bottle of red and share the great recipe that you've just made. And invite people over, and it does make us the richer for it.
I 100% agree.
And it is important to remember that tomorrow is not guaranteed to anybody.
It is not. It totally is not. And so that's why it's really important to be in the moment, aware, and just taking advantage of everything that we can while we're here.
Right. And to just ask yourself about all kinds of different things, like, well, what am I saving it for?
And that was the original question.
Yeah. And certainly if you can answer that and that resonates with you, I'm saving it for this or I'm saving it for that, absolutely, go with that. Go with your gut. But it is, and it is always good to sort of do that inventory and ask that question of yourself about whatever it is that you're saving it.
Okay. Well, I think that was a good little episode. I think we can kind of close it out.
Thank you, dear readers, for listening. Dear listeners
for listening.
Yep.
And we'll chat with you next month in March.
Love and peace to all of you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.